Welcome to a new episode of SmarTalk. Today we have a very special guest, Elsa Aoun. How are you?
Hi, Jahan. How are you? Good.
I'm always good. In your presence, I'm even better.
Thank you.
Elsa, you're the co-founder of Ounoussa, Sohati, and Loolia. A lot of things, but they have one common trait, which is
Two
taratata,
co-founders.
two co-founders. No, it's really about. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about creating content, and you provide content to the Arab world. Your partner is Wasim Ari. How did you guys meet?
We met during university. We were both studying at UZI, studying engineering, and he was my classmate for 5 years. He was also the person with whom I used to do all the projects. So we were used to working together for quite some time. And then we both traveled after graduation. We traveled to France and we studied business. Not in the same specialty. I majored in finance and he was more specialized in everything related to digital. So, and yeah. And then we ended up by becoming a couple. So we got married and we founded those three companies together.
We'll speak about how it is to work in a husband and wife team. It's never easy.
You know that.
I know something about that. Yes, it's not easy. Elsa, tell us more about the group. So there's Ounoussa, there's Sohati, there's Loolia. You're going to tell us about each one.
Okay.
Overall, maybe you just do a presentation of the company.
Okay, so Ounoussa is the firstborn startup. It was launched in 2010, and as its name says in Arabic, it creates content for the women in the Arab world. So it's content in Arabic around topics related to fashion, beauty, lifestyle. A couple of years later, we teamed up with two other friends, a couple who have a background in the pharma industry. And we launched Sohati, which is a portal in Arabic that creates content related to health. And finally, in 2014, we launched Loolia with also a group of friends because we started to realize that people were more going towards video content rather than reading articles. So Loolia is actually a big YouTube channel. It's a YouTube channel that publishes around 1 to 2 videos every day of content related to women. Of course, the target of Loolia is younger than that of Ounoussa and Sohati because young people tend to watch videos more than the older generation. So these are the three media assets.
What's the weight of Ounoussa? Give us some if you can, some figures on the reach or impact of these three media.
Ounoussa is actually one of the biggest companies in media related to women on social media. Very early on, right from the start, right from the moment Facebook opened up for businesses to create pages, we created a page for Ounoussa on Facebook, and from that moment on, we started to grow a lot. And today, Ounoussa gathers more than 16 million fans on Facebook.
Okay.
Sohati very soon will reach 10 million fans. And Loolia has nearly 1 million and a half. In addition to purely the social media base, we of course have a strong readership in the region. Cumulated, Ounoussa has around 5 million visits every month from the MENA region. So, and Sohati has around 3, and Loolia is smaller in scale because it's mainly targeted. It's mainly focused on YouTube.
It's a real YouTube channel that.
Yes.
Well, that's impressive numbers.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go a bit about how this whole company evolved. You know, how you raised funds, how you're growing. I always say at every interview, SmarTalk at the end of the day is also about to provide advice and to help everybody out there on get some interesting feedback. But let's start from the beginning. When you decide to go into content and to create this content, everybody can create content. What made you guys, we can start saying made you now, guys, do such a good job? What do you think is the secret that made you really succeed?
Okay, so I think there are a lot of things that, helped us get to the place where we are today. First, because it's true that, everybody can create content, but it is important to tackle the right content for the right people. When we started Ounoussa, there wasn't a lot of content available in Arabic for women. The formats available were very different. It was basically forums and user-generated content with, not like very nice layouts. So when we came in, we created content that was appealing for women, that really answered women's needs in the region. Actually, the need to read something that is really light, that has relation to lifestyle, that could be a little bit European Occidental in the way of, in the way we present it. But we introduced the picture and the text, the gallery of pictures, and then later on we embedded the social media within articles. So we wanted to create a format that was interactive. Also, what I think is very important is quality. So we have really, internally, we have really a very strong process related to quality. We have like several readers along the way, and nothing, goes online unless it has been like really well formatted. It doesn't have any mistakes, because at the end of the day, you present yourself to your readers and you want to do that in the best way possible. So quality is very important, and talking to the right audience.
How did you start gathering for everybody out there that's trying to build up an audience, what's the recipe? What was it, at least for you guys?
For us, at least, and I think, you always have to find new recipes. Still, until today, we had to pivot our model a lot to keep attracting audience and to keep, growing and not just like stand where we are. The way we started is we focus a lot on social media, and it was the right time to do that because everybody was discovering Facebook. And for us, Facebook was, a privileged means to get people back on the website. Now, in parallel, when you create content, the more you create content, the more you grow your SEO, and the more you are able to rank well on some keywords that are really important, so that whenever a person searches for a topic, he or she lands on your page. So social media accounted for a big part of our traffic sources up until the past couple of years, when Facebook progressively decided to reduce the reach of the posts, but in parallel it was compensated by a growth in SEO, so in organic traffic. We do of course digital advertising like any other startups and also in other fields do. So we create Facebook ads, we create Google AdWords campaigns, and that's basically it.
If a startup was starting today, what do you think are the right tools today? As you said, Facebook's reach went from, I remember at one point it was 20%, it went to 14%, it went to 7%, now it's probably less than 2%. When you post something and how fast how many people it's shown to. If I'm an entrepreneur and I come to you today and I tell you I need reach, what would you tell them?
Well, the fact that we had to grow our base on Facebook. Now, it is still very important. It's a big asset to us. You do not grow to become a player or a publisher who has 16 million fans, and you cannot do anything with it. It's not the case. So whenever somebody comes to us telling us, okay, can you help me increase my reach or my awareness, we still can do that because we still have a big community. The idea now is how to tackle it in a way, that makes it interesting for us and for the person, the advertiser, typically. It is still an advantage to us to have a strong base. It was not, it does not have the same weight as before, but it is still important.
It is the era of creating. Would you have been able to do Ounoussa today? Considering how difficult it's becoming to build a base on social media, the restrictions that have been set?
I think it would have been much difficult. Yes, we benefited, of course, from the growth of social media. That is definitely something we truly depended on for a while. But at the end of the day, being a publisher is also about content and is about creating good quality content. So if you have the good content and you have, you tackle the right topics, you need to find a way just to distribute it properly. And today, of course, you have social media, but you have also other things that you could work with, such as influencers, such as key opinion leaders who can communicate about your product too.
In terms of creating the content, you spoke a lot about you spoke initially about the quality, about the importance of quality. And I agree with you. You can't just do I guess a lot of viewers will tell us, oh yeah, but we see on YouTube some very shitty quality, sorry about the word, but at the end of the day, it's still there is some sort of production that goes on.
Yeah.
For you guys, for Ounoussa, continuing to do continuously the right quality, and you mentioned it's about doing content that the audience wants. How do you keep understanding your audience? Are you doing market research? Do you sit? What's the as running an accelerator, one of the common mistakes we see our startups do is not go understand their clients, their target audience. How are you doing that?
We rely a lot on data. So working in digital has many advantages, and one of them is to give you access to a lot of data, whether from your audience, how they consume data on your website. There are a lot of tools we implemented to be able to do that, and this gives us a lot of insights on typically what are the topics they read the most, which topics they spend the highest time on. So this gives us a clear idea what are the trends also. And we are, of course, always on the lookout for new ideas. So our editorial team constantly is on social media, is on Instagram, is on YouTube to capture the latest in terms of, the latest trends on beauty, on fashion. It is something that is really in our DNA. It's not an effort that we need to do. It's simply there. We do it all the time. So
it's become a second nature.
Yeah.
How are you making money?
We started, actually, our first, business model was advertising, like any publisher. So we started creating, putting banners for advertisers. Later on, advertising also changed
the value
a little bit.
is very low today.
The value is very low, and it is not at all in banners anymore. For us, it is in creating content. So we create native articles for advertisers, which means we try their products, we talk about their products in a way that is very subtle and in a way that it doesn't show to the end user that it is purely an advertisement. And we also diversified into creating content in other formats, typically in videos. So
Hence Loolia.
Hence Loolia, of course. Loolia, we work together. Actually, we source, we have the same resources. And in addition to simply, producing videos and editing them and then publishing them, whether on Ounoussa or Loolia, we have diversified our offering into concept creation. So now, for example, we receive a brief from an advertiser. We create a full concept. We reach out to the influencers or the models or, the actors that need to be part of it. And then we take care of the whole execution. So it's, full service that we offer.
I was actually you just destroyed my next question, which is very good. Usually it's a good sign.
It's a good thing.
What I wanted to ask you was actually, all these influencers and actually let me say those influencers and those influencers, because you have really real influencers and you have just a lot of bullshitters or wannabes. My question was, isn't this becoming a real competition to you, to what you produce? I mean, to the structured media, because you're a media at the end of the day.
Yes and no. Yes, of course, it is, competing with us in the sense that a brand, for example, can directly reach out to an influencer for any form of, content creation, and then ask for...
It's not expensive.
No, it depends. It can be very expensive. It depends on the person. Our differentiation is more, again, in the content creation. The influencer can either post a picture or create a story or create a short video format. But the moment the concept becomes more complicated, you need somebody to support you. So this is where we interfere. Like, we are a production company too. We work with the influencer. We give her, we pay her fees, or for the fact that she is publishing, and we also amplify on our own platforms. She provides usually insights of posts or stories on her own platforms, whether for example, her Instagram account. We can also support by further amplifying this content into our own platforms.
So you're also competing with traditional advertising agencies today?
Well, we had to, yeah. We had to do that. With the, the advertising budgets shrinking from one year to another, we tried to diversify and try to, compensate for the loss in value by expanding our service offerings. So, yeah, in a certain way, we compete with advertising agencies, but we have such a small scale. We do digital videos. We don't produce TV formats or 30 seconds ads that require, other level
More
of
expertise.
of expertise and equipment.
Videos at Loolia are in-house, produced in-house?
Yes, videos at Loolia are produced in our own studios, in-house, with our own team. So we have full-timers working on Loolia.
Okay. Continuing on this, you guys raised money for the various platforms with different types of investors. I think Beritech, Cedar Mundi, from what I've read. How much in total have you raised?
I would say around $4 million.
Take me through that process. Was it how complex or not? Was it, and what advice would you give entrepreneurs, now going to raise money or going into their second round about that sometimes difficult but very enlightening process and experience?
Actually, of course, you have before starting the process of fundraising, you need to identify the ecosystem, the VCs, the funds that are in place. The whole process of, getting to know them and meeting them was the easiest one. For Ounoussa, we had previously interacted with Beritech when Ounoussa was really very small, in terms of size and scale. And a couple of years later, we convened again and we met, and this is where the fundraising process started. We had a very lean and quick process with Veritech for Ounoussa. It went very well. For Sohati, we raised fund with BLC Invest. The process was also very smooth. It's just like whenever you have a business plan that is ready, you have a sound presentation, you know where you want to go. It helps a lot. For Sohati, the process took longer than for Ounoussa because of regulatory papers. We had to wait a long time for a certain paper to be cleared for us.
Is this a 331 money?
Yeah, it is 331 money. So actually, it was a little bit risky for us because we got to a point where we were nearly, bankrupt. We didn't have money to pay our, suppliers anymore. So this is where there was angel investors who came on board and who reinjected money just until, the funds were ready to be, dispersed. Yes. And for Loolia, we raised fund with Sidr Mundi. And it's kind of comparable also in terms of process. But in general, my advice for the young startups looking to raise funds is to start very early. Very early on, really. Usually, the process on average, it took us around a year or 18 months from the start of the discussions until the final disbursement of the funds. So it really is a long time for a startup.
Are these 3 different companies for Ounoussa?
Yes, they are.
How is it managing? Run us a bit through the ones the investors are with you. Mm-hmm. How is that relationship in the board? I know you're not gonna say anything bad about them. That's not the point. But we'll see in your eyes. We'll ask the camera to focus on your eyes. No, but my point is, it's one of the common, things that worries investors, entrepreneurs, which is, okay, how am I gonna handle that board? When I sign the term sheet, there are conditions, reserved matters, etc., etc., etc. How is that experience?
Actually, really, and I'm really sincere, it has been going very well. For Ounoussa, so Veritech is on board. It's been and we actually have a super advantage is that our offices are on the same floor as Veritech. So it's really kind of a board nearly every day. So you have the fund manager and the analyst who jump in at the office, ask us a couple of questions, and it's always an ongoing discussion. So whenever we convene for a board, it's like a continuation of our usual meetings. For Sohati, it's also the same. We're very, very much in line with the fund, and I think this is very important. And it applies also to Sidr Mundi when the founders and the fund are really they have the same strategy. They are both on the same boat. So and they want to steer the boat in the right direction and the same direction. And this is what's happening. Of course, we have we have our differences and our way to tackle issues differently, but they have always been very open to new ideas, to changes in business models. Sometimes changes that were really very harsh. But we always really found, good partners in our board.
What scared you the most when raising the money?
Different things. It's always you always have to live with the risks.
Was it the risk or the expectation of having external people? Waiting for you to get results? Or was it just the whole process that's sort of overwhelming sometimes?
Yes, the process is overwhelming because it takes a lot of your time. while you want to spend, most of your time focusing on your operations and on your business, everything that is around it that is really very core, because without it you won't have any funds, is also very time consuming. So yes, we were overwhelmed with the, having to cope with the, operations, recruitment, changing offices, etc. And at the same time,
raising the money.
Raising the money. Yeah, that was the most challenging part, I think.
How many people today in the group? The three companies?
Around 20 persons. Yeah.
20 persons. What do you think is lacking in terms of skills here so you're based in Beirut, in Lebanon. Mm-hmm. Are there any skills you feel we lack, at least in your business?
It is, and it was for a certain time very difficult for us to find good developers.
Have I already heard that so many times?
Yeah. I think probably, we have a lot of skilled people, but we don't know how to get to them. It's actually, you need to work with a lot of junior people, because getting senior and experienced person is of course very, very, very beneficial to your operations, but you have the cost of and the expenses of recruiting these people that are consequent. The difficulty that we found as digital publishers is also to attract people in the coding industry, because when you join a company like ours, you're not asked to create a new program virtual reality, exactly, or a super high-tech app. It's very it could be a very routine work. However, it needs to be done, and to be done properly. Revamping an app, a mobile app, is not something very sexy, so we wanted to find a middle ground, but fortunately, it took us some time, but we found the right people.
What's the main challenges you're facing with the team? First of all, do you have all the skills required here in Lebanon? And are there skills lacking? And two, how do you see the growth? Do you need to go set up in the Arab world? Because at the end of the day, this is your target audience.
Yes. In terms of skills, I think, it has been a little bit difficult to find some qualifications, particular ones, but in general, I think that the Lebanese market is filled with very skillful people. So the team, in my opinion, is really, really strong in several fields. Now, I think for us to grow and to be more present where our audience is, namely in the Arab world and most importantly in the GCC, we need to develop a presence outside of Lebanon. So far, when we started monetizing Ounoussa, we have been working with the GMS Shwayri Group, which is like the digital arm of Shwayri, and they are our sales representative for the region, for Ounoussa only. For Sohati and Loolia, we are doing sales, indirect with the brands, and we have a new addition to the family with Sohati Care, which was launched in January of this year, 2018. And Sohati Care is actually one of the first parapharmacies online, whereby you, on Sohati Care, you can buy pharmaceutical products, OTC, with a free delivery in Lebanon. So the pilot was from January until now in Lebanon. But our plans are, of course, to expand beyond the borders. And the first market we're tackling would be UAE. So we're going to develop a presence there, basically a full team of operational people, logistics, marketing, and country managers.
This is a whole new business.
Yes, it is. It is a whole new business. And, when I was telling you before about, changing the strategic direction with the board, typically this is something we also discussed with our fund, to a little bit add to Sohati, becoming more than just a publisher, but also, going into e-commerce, from media to e-commerce.
It has going to have, I guess, its own independent team.
Yes, it will have its own independent team.
Business.
Yes, it is a different business. It's different from media. However, it has a lot of synergies with Sohati in terms of the community. So on Sohati, we already are very close to our community of potential patients, because we organize a lot of Q&As between patients and doctors. And with Sohati Care, we will be able to, redirect patients to buying directly online their favorite cosmetics, typically.
Also, you and Wasim have taken a bit of a very peculiar, not that it is bad, path, which is a bit counterintuitive to what VC funds tell the entrepreneurs here, which is that you've created 3 different companies. And I guess it's the same team producing, at least the same back office producing for the 3 companies. How is this handled? Do they accept? Because we get a lot of startups telling me, I have 2 different ideas, even if they're linked, I'm going to build it. But then, the investors sort of fight about, and how do you spread the costs into 3 different companies with 3 different investors? And did they accept that? I mean, they obviously accepted, but how did that go?
Actually, because when we reached out to the funds, we had already the 3 companies running on their own and doing very well. And there was a lot of points in time where there was a point where I was running the 3 on my own. And then another one where the co-founder of Loolia was with me. So the management shifted a lot. However, it was at the same time when we started approaching the funds for fundraising. It never came, as a problem for them, because the operations are very, streamlined. It is actually the same, back office or the same kitchen. However, each company has its own strategy. I think it is very beneficial, and actually today the 3 companies are hosted in the same offices. We are all like one same team. However, on paper we are 3 different companies. For the funds, the main point was our involvement in each of the companies, and that is totally fair. But we managed, to find, the right equation. Yeah.
As a last question, first of all, sorry, are you generating profits? Close to?
We're close to profit in some of them.
In some of the, some are newer than the rest.
Yeah, exactly.
That would make a bit sense. Last question about you as a woman. I know, even though you're working with your husband, you have, anyone that goes to LinkedIn will see you have a very high-profile background. You've worked at some high-profile companies, but still, as a woman entrepreneur, what advice would you tell the women out there, these young or not that young ladies who want to go in and become entrepreneurs?
It is actually a very tough decision for a woman, at least from my end, because I was always I'm the risk-averse person in the team. I'm the realistic person, while everybody around me is a dreamer. So it's kind of that's my personality inside. But I always wanted to go for a big career, and I wanted to prove myself that really I could work, as hard as anybody, and this is why I went into banking and consulting. But for the women, for any woman to go, and launch a startup, I think there are no hurdles. I always hear people say, "Okay, you're a woman; it must be hard for you, etc." But I mean, during these past 5 years, I've come to meet with really amazing women doing really great job in startups, and and nobody was, able to, refrain them from working. And of course, everybody faces hurdles, but it's not because I am a woman that I'm really facing these hurdles, because I'm just an entrepreneur like everybody else. The environment also helps a lot. So if I have to give one advice, it would be to find a supportive environment in which to nurture the ideas and to be able to focus more on the startup in itself. And that's it, and then go for it.
Anyways, my spies have told me that you're preparing something big for women entrepreneurs, but
I hope it will come to fruition. We're going to work on this together.
I'm well informed. So hopefully, when this is set up, we'll have you again as a guest to speak about that. Hopefully, it will be a great initiative to push female entrepreneurship in the region even more and create even more job opportunities.
Yeah, definitely.
Elsa Aoun, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And good luck in your 4 ventures now.
Yeah, thank you.